Athena versus Billie Starkz, the Master versus the Minion. Who will walk out of Final Battle as the Ring of Honor Women's Champion? We're going to talk about it and much more today on WrstlXtra. Stay tuned.
Yo, this is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, always joined by my trios team, the Real House of Black, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. And of course, the omnipresent, the masterful, the wise man that is Gerard Bonner. The Minion camp has imploded, finally. Billie Starkz, the young 19-year-old, has finally put her foot down and said no more treatment from Athena and wants to come for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. Mex, give us a rundown what happened with these two. What has been the story of when Billie Starkz came in and being mentored by Athena to where we are now?
It's literally that, mentored. Like, I think this probably all started. Was it Forbidden Door this year where they were on the undercard, the pre-show against each other? I think this was maybe just before Athena even became champion. And since then, they've kind of cultivated this relationship between these two. Lexi Nair has been involved, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. The fact a backstage presenter has the biggest storyline on Ring of Honor TV. And she's been absolutely great as well. And it's been this whole, trying to kind of Athena almost mold these guys into her kind of vision of them, and obviously called themselves MIT minions in training and stuff. And obviously the most recent thing was this past week on Ring of Honor TV. Basically, Billie Starkz refused to fall in line. She's not taking the nonsense anymore. She doesn't want to be seen as someone that's not worthy anymore. Athena has been looking past her and not taking her seriously, kind of saying she's not getting up to speed. And she threw Athena into the barrier, the fan safety barrier. Backstage when Lexi Nair was having a word with Tony Khan, she stumbled in and she basically said, listen, I want a title shot. Spoke about all her wins and how she's been getting on. And Tony Khan granted the title shot at Final Battle. So we're gonna get Athena versus Billie Starkz for that. Even with being thrown into the barrier, Athena looked somewhat proud of Billie Starkz. Almost finally, like, you stepped up sort of thing. I love a good kind of, breaking up of a faction, but like this, like almost like the evolution. Batista now wants to overthrow, like overthrowing the Master has always been like my thing when the stories are told well. And like I said, this is the best storyline on Ring of Honor since they brought Ring of Honor back. So yeah, these guys deserve it.
For sure. Gerald, what are the chances that a young Billie Starkz ends what will by then be
a year, basically.
Literally a year. I think it's on the 10th of December. Athena hits a year as the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Will this end with a year of Athena, or are we going to go into 2024 with Athena as the champion?
It's hard to say. I think it's safe to say that Billie could have the best chance of anyone, because of how all of this has worked out and how this has played out, and being basically under the tutelage of Athena all this time. It's interesting because in the process, we've not just watched the character of Billie Starkz develop, but we've watched her in-ring work develop as well. What really kind of helped spark this was she ended up in a match against Marina Shafir in a one-on-one as a follow-up to that crazy tag match that happened the week prior on Ring of Honor. And the whole idea was, hey, take care of Marina Shafir and you'll be good in my eyes. So she beats Marina Shafir, and then there's this impromptu graduation where she gets overlooked as the, valedictorian, and that sparks everything. So what's interesting to me is Billie has learned more about Athena than anybody else in Ring of Honor at this point.
Right.
You know, being there to learn her ways, to learn what ticks her off, to get aggressive and all those kinds of things. You know, could she do it? I think Billie Starkz actually could. Now the question is, does this by default make Billie Starkz the one to watch in 2024 in Ring of Honor? And I got a tougher question to answer there, because that show last Thursday started off with Athena calling out Eddie Kingston, you know, for not being a present champion and for her basically being the one to carry Ring of Honor. And she's absolutely right.
Yep.
So where I think the challenge is Billie Starkz the person to ultimately carry Ring of Honor to 2024? Because that is solely fell on the back of Athena. Now, that to me is a different question than can she beat Athena? Can she beat Athena? Probably, because students are always paying attention to the teacher, and teachers tend to take their students lightly on occasion in general. But if we're talking about who can carry Ring of Honor into 2024, I'm not sure Billie Starkz is that person just yet.
And that's what makes this whole thing interesting as well. As Mick said, you know, the whole teacher student storyline is always great. In terms of storyline, it would make sense again with what you just said, Gerard, about, you know, Billie Starkz has been closer to Athena than anyone else. You know, Athena's had, you know, a multiple number of matches. I believe it's like 20 something title defenses, won them all. Billie Starkz has been there for the most of them. So in terms of storyline, it makes sense. To answer your question, which is a very, very interesting question, is this teenager? I guess I've just answered the question by just using that word. Is this teenager, you know, enough to carry Ring of Honor, as, you know, Athena has had to do in 2023? And I don't believe she is. But then it brings up another question. Then who is, if it's not going to be Athena? Because for me, unless they're looking to do a tribal chief like reign for Athena, which is not impossible. Not impossible at all. Who else is there? There are a few names we could name, but are they ready? Have they put them in a position to be that person? So I'm guessing we're going to see, you know, 2024 will come with Athena as champion, but then within a few months, maybe, you know, someone else will get the push. But who is that person?
Well, my thought is the way this could go is I think we could see Athena retain coming out of Final Battle, but Supercard of Honor could be the space where this all changes. Remember, that is Mania week, and as much as AEW has said, we won't be there, Ring of Honor is always there. So I think in Philly is where we could see Billie Starkz, you know, have to, because now we can watch her figure out, what do I have to do to beat Athena? You know, in the process, I'm also hoping that we can see Trish Adora actually get to step up in that space in Ring of Honor and become a viable contender as well, because I definitely think she has all the goods to be that person. So I think it's one of those two, but I think it happens at Supercard of Honor.
I was going to say,
go.
Oh, I was going to say. I was going to say, sorry. So I'll go. I was going to say the other names that we can mention. Obviously, we've got the former champion Mercedes Martinez, who recently lost to Athena. So, you know, it may take a little bit more time to build her back up. Willow Nightingale's on a win streak. Trish Adora is in the picture. She's around. Layla Hirsch is someone who, as well, they've been, you know, got a lot of focus on her as well. Is there anyone else? Could it be one of those four? But Mex, you say what he's going to say, and we'll see what happens.
So I'm not sure, generally, and I mean this respectfully at the same time. I'm not sure how much anyone cares about who else could be the champion outside of these two.
That's
true.
I think Trish Adora is the next person, and not even because of, you know, what the show that we're doing and what we focus on here. I think because of obviously Trish Stratus' exploits everywhere else and stuff like that, I think people will generally think, you know, when her time is right, yes, she should be the next person kind of inserted into this picture. Everyone else we've kind of mentioned before, the Willows is kind of past this at this point, this title, this division. Layla Hirsch and some other names probably have some more climbing to do. Like Layla Hirsch was hot, you know, around pandemic times, had an injury, got some climbing to do to get back to this stage. They could slap it on someone like a Sky Blue, but Sky Blue is almost past this at this point as well. So, you know, I think Trisha Dora would be the name if the time was right. That the only other name that people would care about. I'm not really sure how many other names people would care about. Secondly, Tony has a thing for not striking when the iron is hot.
Right. The
iron is hot. They've got the eyes of the world, especially after that angle on Thursday with the graduation. Final battle for me is the time to do it. Switch it. I'm not personally attached to the length of Athena's reign. I think she's been brilliant. True. And I almost think, because of my next point, you do the switch here, and Athena wins it back at Supercard of Honor from Billie Starkz. Give the 18-year-old the run that she deserves. Let her overthrow the master, but you know, Athena wins it back in March, April, especially because my third point, AEW and Ring of Honor are going into their TV renewal season. Now, this is the only reason why I think you keep it on Athena, because I think the first question we will answer in here is, yeah, you know, do we keep it on Athena? Is that who people want to see and stuff like that? I guess if you're trying to, you know, get sponsorship or get TV deal, whatever the case is, Athena is your biggest case right now to kind of command any type of figure, any type of certain showtime, you know, programming time. So do the switch now, get it back on Athena, so that by the time you're going into that TV period, I guess people are all, if it has failed with Billie, let's say, or she's not able to carry the show, like we're saying, we're putting it back on someone within the storyline. We're not forcing it, that, you know, has done very well, can carry it, and then we go by into there and negotiate our TV deals and whatever the case may be. For me, that's probably the best way around to go about it.
In terms of, you know, you made a great point in terms of, like, you know, striking when the iron's hot. You know, things being great for storylines and all the rest of it. And with Athena having the title for as long as she has, beating as many people as she has, you know, legit people like Mercedes, like Willow, and a few others. For me, it would make a lot more sense for the title change to be attached to a very good storyline, and this is the only good storyline that there is and is going to be, and that Athena's had, even with previous opponents as well. Other storylines just haven't really been, there haven't been layers to the story. It's just someone's on a win streak, someone's coming for her, they seem legit enough, boom, they get the title chance.
On that, yeah.
Go for it.
Sorry, can I just add? Just on that, I was furious when I watched Collision this week, and I saw Keith Lee being interviewed backstage, and Shane Taylor came back into the picture and challenged him to a match at Final Battle. And I'm thinking, you lot dropped this storyline ages ago, weeks ago, and now we're just coming back to it for what? For the sake of just putting it on pay-per-view and having a match. Like, it's poor. Like, this is very, very poor. Like, you dropped the ball, and now you just want us to believe like you're still so angry with Keith Lee. Where have you been then? why have you taken all this time to come back round to it?
Well, remember that it was roughly a year ago at Final Battle where the world got introduced to Shane Taylor. And it literally happened the rampage before. Like, it was ridiculous. So what's unfortunate is that this kind of last minute fly by night, for lack of a term, booking is happening, such that, you know, I mean, think about it. Final Battle, which is the final pay-per-view for Ring of Honor, is literally in 10 days. Yep. The idea, number one, that we're getting storylines for it happening on AEW is still weird to me. I mean, why are we not trusting the Ring of Honor product to do what it does? With that said, this Final Battle, I think, is is okay, I'm going to say this very respectfully, is interesting in a WWECW kind of way.
I'm glad you said that.
Do you remember the reboot of ECW and that one pay-per-view they had, you know, where it was like their version of Elimination Chamber, the Extreme Elimination Chamber. By the time they got to it, they had announced 2 matches. It was just abysmal. And it feels, Ring of Honor, unfortunately, feels like that. And it bothers me because they've got great people there. They've got people that I care about there. I don't know why it's not being handled far better. I mean, and I don't know if we've talked about this on this show or not, but my God, your world champion has put his title up for grabs in a tournament that he hasn't won a match in yet. So I'm sitting here wondering, when we get to Final Battle in 10 days, can you even call him the world champion? Because basically, if he loses one more match at the Continental Classic, the titles are over. Because there's no way he can mathematically win. So it's like there aren't enough things right now in place for Ring of Honor to have the kind of prestige it should. And so going into this Final Battle, I don't even know if we're going to have a world championship match.
This was I had this question for you guys, in fact. Have they announced, because they better say Athena and Billie Starkz is the main event? Like,
that's going to have to be. It's going to have to be, because if your world title is tied up in another tournament right now, right? Which, again, the wisdom of that, they knew Final Battle was coming. Like, why would you put your champion in this space and then he loses to Brody King, he loses to Bryan Danielson? I don't know who else he's going to, his best bet might be Daniel Garcia at this point, you know, to get a win. But what are we doing, and what have we said about the Ring of Honor World Championship at this point, that it should be held up while your final pay-per-view of the year is happening? So how do you have a pay-per-view without your world champion?
And then there's no TV champion either?
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
The TV title gets decided in a match at the pay-per-view, and you're doing qualifiers for it now. Like, okay, I'm not going to say that.
It's crazy.
I agree with Gerard. Like, people often say Ring of Honor is AEW's NXT, and I get why people say that. But it's incorrect. Ring of Honor is akin to WWE ECW. That's what it is. Like, it's not really developmental. We see younger talents there, fair enough. But we had younger talents in WWE ECW as well. That's exactly what it is. It's a mess.
It literally is, and it should be kind of taken on as NXT is with WWE, and not exactly in the same way, but at least in the sense where this is where you grow and challenge your new stars, give them their chance to you know, get some minutes in and all the rest of it, while building them at the same time to then maybe move them up, you know, to AEW and all the rest of it. This whole kind of, you know, switching, going in between, as we said, you know, Keith Lee and Shane Taylor on Rampage the other day in a backstage thing, and not on Ring of Honor TV itself. Like, why? Like, that would have made a little bit of sense if one of them was a champion. And then you can say, like, okay, this is the top guy in Ring of Honor. This is why you need to put eyes on Ring of Honor. Not 2 guys that clearly you don't necessarily care about. You know what I mean? Or not have not shown enough care about in order to say, right, this is why you need to watch Ring of Honor, because of these 2 guys. It's not like that. And I just don't understand why they're still doing what they're doing when the fix is so easy. The fix is so simple. And it's crazy to me to think, and this is not a bad, it's a good and a bad thing. Athena is going into another pay-per-view, and I think it's going to be the second one this year that she's main evented. I think Final Battle, if it is the main event, will be the third one. It's crazy to think, and there's, as I said, there's a positive to it, because it gives the impression, and I say gives the impression, that you care about the women's division for it to be enough to be on the pay-per-view. I'm now starting to think it's not necessarily giving the impression of you care about the women's division, but you have nothing else to put there. That's the problem that I have with it. That's what it is for me.
Let's think about this. This is actually pretty alarming. So the Ring of Honor World title right now is locked up in a tournament. The TV championship was vacated. Your tag team champions have not shown up on Ring of Honor, and one of them is injured and has been injured. And instead of them, stripping them of the title, vacating the title, you have one man defending both championships. But they've not appeared on Ring of Honor television ever. Then your 6-man tag team champions, 2 of them are currently in Japan in World Tag League. So the only champion you have in Ring of Honor is Athena. That's all you have. That is, I literally just ran through your entire Ring of Honor champions.
I beg you, clip this, Gerard, put it on your Instagram and preface it, with tell me how much I care about Ring of Honor.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
this is how much they care about Ring of Honor.
Right.
It's unbelievable to me. And to make it better, we put it behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Because we all want to pay to see this.
Because we want to pay to see one champion. Because your other champions are nowhere to be found. And you cannot convince me that the AEW World Champion cares about the Ring of Honor tag team titles.
Right.
When that gets defended on your 0 hour. What are we doing?
And it's not like Ring of Honor don't have a decent tag team division either.
Right.
Because we're seeing them face each other all the time, every single week.
All the time. My God, put the belts on the infantry. Like you've got enough people in that brand who could be champions, who could build those championships and give people a reason to give Ring of Honor $9.99 a month. But to turn around, it's scary to. So let me get this straight. Ring of Honor right now costs more than the WWE network. It's twice the price of the WWE network here in the States. Twice. It costs more than Impact Plus. Okay, so right now, Ring of Honor, no cap, is the most expensive streaming service of any major wrestling platform in the States.
But you've got one champion out of what, 4, 5?
And this pay-per-view Final Battle is the first one that you can actually get with the subscription. All the others you had to pay separately $40 for. So to me, you have not even established the level of value in this current wrestling economy. In this wrestling economy, where 10 days ago we watched 2 War Games matches, which were both extraordinary, an incredible Survivor Series cover to cover, the return of Randy Orton, and that guy you guys fired, CM Punk, right? We saw that on top of all the other stuff for $4.99, but you want us to pay twice the price for a quarter of the champions, and then some of your champions don't even show up on that show and won't be booked for this. Where are the tag titles for this event that's happening in 10 days? And in what company would they allow you to have one champion injured? Shoot, this is what makes us New Japan. In New Japan, Aussie Open had to give up the strong open weight and the IWGP tag team titles because one man was injured. So how does Adam Cole get injured? But because it's MJF and Adam Cole, they're gonna maintain the titles. And
MJF defends with an injury.
Now he's Superman.
Adam Cole got injured and they nearly put him in the main event.
Exactly.
Like, are you kidding me?
And then MJF tags with someone who he's about to face, and they become. I just don't.
When Thunder Rosa got injured, you went and made an interim champion.
Exactly.
And while I hate the concept of an interim champion, what you at least were trying to demonstrate was that the championship should be defended, should still be on television, should be well represented. Why is that not happening with the company you bought?
Never cared. He wanted the tape library, and that is it.
Yeah.
Call the police. Call the police for Tony Khan. 911. Because I mean, look at this.
It's grand larceny.
It's theft.
It's grand larceny.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like
Grand Theft Auto. It's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
It's crazy to think, you know, all the points that we've just made, and this thing is still happening, and there is no way of answering any of these points within 10 days. Within 10 days. I mean, yes, okay. So we've got Athena who's defending the championship, the one person who's actively defending and showcasing the championship. We've got this tournament final to name the new television champion after a very random relinquishing of the title. The tag team champions is one half is the AEW World Champion. For what reason, I don't know. And then the trio championships, they're in Japan, and not building anything to answer any of these questions for those two championships as well. World Championship is just wherever. I don't know if it's been relinquished. It's being, unified. It's actually being defended. The champions lost twice. It's an absolute car crash.
Even through general perception, for your world champion to put up his championship in another tournament, like it's a Pokemon card that he's sorting or something. like I'll give you this one. Let me take this one. Like
Hugs.
Like he's trading. Yeah. Like what?
Hugs.
Huh? Is this how someone treats a world championship with reverence? Even like I understand Eddie Kingston's story, but something he holds with so much reverence and how much these belts mean to him and the song and dance made when he won these titles. For you to just put them up in the tournament and then you don't even have the audacity to win a match.
That part.
Like,
that part right there.
I don't know, man. I don't know. These women have to have the main event. Their story has been the best.
They should have just put it on
the Ring of Honor. They have to go through with it. Like they've been absolutely great. They deserve it. And
they'll tear the house down.
Make Athena the world champion of Ring of Honor. Full stop.
At this point. Boy.
They might as well just do the same thing that they did with I think it was Jordan Grace or Tessa Blanchard when she was, the world champion in Impact.
We have uttered her name on this show.
Like,
wow.
Just do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, literally.
I'm crazy like that, but
I see.
It's all good. All good. Moving on to other things. We see that another woman that is on the lips of everyone again is Mercedes Moné. We've seen her back in training. I can't remember what training camp it was again, but we've seen her back in training. She's been talking of coming back into wrestling in 2024. There's obviously been talk now, of course, of her coming back to WWE. We discussed this last week. Do we have any more inkling or information as to what this choice could possibly be for Mercedes?
I saw Dave Meltzer say this past week on Wrestling Observer Radio, it's kind of weird that she hasn't already signed with AEW. He's not putting it past the fact that she could still sign, or that maybe what she's more angling for when the time is right is like a appearance deal, which we've all said. But from how he was speaking, he thinks at least the likelihood that she can return to WWE within the next year or whenever next year is more likely, because he just finds it very funny that someone has been available hasn't signed for AEW for whatever reason.
Interesting. Gerard, of all the points that we made last week, with the things that Mercedes has to think about, Does this time frame and no one kind of jumping in or being able to get this signature, does that say anything more about this whole situation?
It could. You know, when we think about basically this time last year, when we were all wondering where would she go, you know, and then of course the cat slipped out of the bag in the worst kept secret in pro wrestling when she showed up at Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year. You know, I think we all had a figure in our minds of where this can go, but what that long time frame showed us from May of 2022 basically until January of 2023 is that Mercedes is willing to take her time and she's willing to get the best deal for what it is she wants. So I think for her, again, it goes back to what does she still want to accomplish? You know, is it the paycheck? Is it the freedom to kind of go here, there, and everywhere? You know, is it access to Hollywood, right? Is it the opportunity to perform in varying places around the world? I think once she really figures out what it will take to do whatever it is she wants, that will control her decision. I don't know, you know, and again, it depends on the deal she signs with an AEW, for instance, because she might have more interest in actually applying her craft in Impact and applying her craft in Mexico and in those places where she can have the kinds of matches that would be suitable for her. Could she do that in AEW? Maybe, maybe not. And who knows what she's willing to ask for to go there. Personally, I do want to see her accomplish all that she intends to accomplish before going back to WWE, because I think right now WWE has one of the best problems it's had in a long time, and that is a lot of star power. The problem right now is I think if Mercedes comes back now, I think her star doesn't get to shine nearly as bright as it did when she left. You know, when you think about, and it's not that her star can't shine, but at this point, there are only 2 world champions, right? Rhea and Io. And somewhere in there, you've got Becky to contend with, and Asuka, and Bayley, and Charlotte, you know, and Bianca, right? Like you got all these people to contend with. You throw Mercedes in there, it's far different than Mercedes in New Japan or Mercedes in AEW or Mercedes in Mexico. So I want to see her accomplish what she intended to accomplish, which is to become a worldwide star and then bring that back to WWE, because I think at that point, her asking power is greater and her position on the card ends up being much, much greater.
For sure. I think it would end up being a very similar, you know, similar thing to the Drew McIntyre story, to how CM Punk has come back. You know, I think it definitely needs to be a bit more time, and she has more time to accomplish other things and come back as a bigger star. Speaking of time, we know the other woman that people are talking about all the time, but we haven't seen her on TV in a while, haven't seen her in a ring in maybe 3 months now, is Jade Cargill. Obviously, when she first signed, it was the biggest news in wrestling all of this year, up until The Rock made a return and CM Punk made a return. But anyway, you know, Jade Cargill was the talk of the town for a good few weeks. We saw her appearing on every show in WWE Universe, but we have not seen her in a ring. Recently, I think it was both her and Triple H have kind of commented on why. And the common denominator seems to be that they're, you know, making sure that when she does make an appearance, it is, you know, she's ready. You know, they're building her into this big star. They want to make sure everything's on point. Joe, do you think this is the best way to go? Have they missed out on the big buzz in those first few weeks of her signing? Is this the right timing?
I think they're handling it right. And one of the things about that I think is important is, you know, I am amazed at just how short of a memory span we as wrestling fans can have at times, because it was just 6 months ago where people were just like, oh my Lord, can Jade get some competition? oh my Lord, can Jade get more skills? I mean, she's not fighting the people that she needs to fight. People were so shocked when her first year, she was in the top 5 of the PWI, now 250, right? Because they felt like she hadn't been doing this long enough. And I want to remind people, she's only been wrestling for 2 years. She has not had the benefit of house shows. She has not had the benefit of a PC. She's done some work, of course, in the Nightmare Factory, but there is nothing like actually getting those reps. And then you couple that with you're only as good as the caliber of your opponent. So they intentionally kept her out of the world title picture, where she could have had some amazing matches with a Serena Deeb or with a Thunder Rosa, or with a Toni Storm or any of those people. She was kept away from some of that veteran presence, which would have given her some more things to work with. Plus, we have to acknowledge that AEW's women's division is not WWE's women's division. You don't want to take her from being 60-0 and winning the TBS championship and then this week put her in a match against Becky or Charlotte, because that does not bode well for her and put her and position her in the best light. She is still a rookie. I think we have to understand that. Bianca Belair at the 2-year mark wasn't getting this kind of attention, and it took Bianca Belair. We were upset because she didn't get the NXT Women's Championship. But then it took her a solid year on the main roster before everybody could go, okay, this is the one. This is the star. We're watching it cook. So I think what Triple H and Jade are good with doing is letting her get those reps in on the PC, letting her do what needs to be done to get accustomed to how WWE presents things versus how AEW presents things, so that when she comes out, she will not only look like $1 million. I think she's going to come out with a new moveset. I think she's going to come out doing some things that we haven't seen. Because think about it. What we saw from her in AEW is limited compared to what she actually could do. But did she have the people and the time that would give her the opportunity to do that? Training with Bryan Danielson is amazing. But if you're only doing that right before you go on TV, that doesn't give you the opportunity to implement those kinds of things. So I think they're doing the right thing. Plus, with all of the noise that's happening with so many other people coming back, let her have her own space and time, her own moment. If that's the Royal Rumble, so be it. If you're teasing us up until Stand and Deliver, whenever it is, firstly, I know it's not going to take as long as Veer, so nobody needs to worry about that. Secondly, it's not going to disappoint us in the same way that Veer did. So we're not going to watch for a year vignettes that says she's coming. No, she'll be here. And if anything should tell us something, the fact that this weekend they trusted her to be alongside Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, The Undertaker, and, Samantha Irvin at the Big 12 championship game here, which was broadcast on network television, that should tell you all you need to know about what they think of Jade Cargill.
I think it's very obvious just from those first few weeks what they thought of her. Just like the fact that they are giving her time and making sure it's right before presenting her in any sort of way. It's interesting that when Triple H has commented the last few weeks, he said how she was trained incorrectly for one. Which was very interesting. I like it. But also, even Jade herself has said in the last couple of weeks that, the spaces that she's been in WWE have been a lot more professional. She's never been behind anything more professional than WWE. So even with her, it will take her time to adapt to that as well. It's a completely new place. She's never been in this kind of space before. So it will take time on both sides, both for her personally and for the WWE to get this right. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm still thinking that what I would want to happen with her is going to happen. We'll first see her at Royal Rumble. She'll make some appearance at Royal Rumble. Whether she then does anything straight after that, I don't think it actually matters. But just to showcase her at Royal Rumble, it's the safest place to be. There's a lot of ways that people won't have all eyes focused on her in the sense where obviously there'll be other women in the match and stuff like that. And it's with Royal Rumble matches, the thing that I love the most about Royal Rumble matches is you can have times where it's a lot of spots, times where it's just melees going on and no one really watching one person. So that would be the safest thing for them to do. After that, again, the choice is theirs. I mean, we've got this bidding war. We had the bidding war for Randy Orton on Friday on SmackDown. We're getting a bidding war for CM Punk. We don't need a third one, in the next few weeks before the end of the year. Let it simmer. Then give her a chance to come out and do what she needs to do. It's gonna be interesting.
I thought that, by the way, that Randy Orton segment in the main event of SmackDown was brilliant. I thought they put across that this is the one time I feel in years the brand split has actually meant anything, because two GMs are fighting for the signature of a top star. Like, I felt that was such an effective segment, and I know obviously generally the draft is just pick roll a tombola and pick out numbers or whatever the case is, but something more akin to that where it's like, no, I need this guy for these reasons. I just thought it was very, very special, and not that they need to necessarily repeat the trick of CM Punk and then eventually Jade, but maybe these bigger stars, they could do something more like that, because I think it's very effective. Talking about effectiveness, for Jade to be sent out on a PR run over this weekend without debuting should not be slept on. Like, I don't think that people have really. It's like we saw Jade doing that so much of AEW. She's just come to a new workplace and she's doing the same thing. Okay, cool, I get that. But she hasn't actually done anything on TV of note in the WWE. Yet they're happy to send her out to do these things. It should not be slept on. She is blessed and highly favored, and they have a position for her. They know exactly what they brought her in for and how they're going to use her. I think at this stage, the Royal Rumble is probably that's where we see her, and I think that's cool. I've made my piece of it. The NXT stuff, I think she's going through her private behind closed doors NXT right now. It may be even a point that putting her on NXT, whether it's now in 6 months' time, it might devalue her somewhat. Like, maybe let's just get her completely ready behind closed doors, use NXT wrestlers and stuff like that behind closed doors, the trainers, the coaches, but when she's debuting, it's straight to main sort of thing. I'm not even too worried if it is just like a Royal Rumble appearance, at least for the sake of the fans. She doesn't win, she gets dumped out or whatever the case is, and then still we don't see her until maybe Monday night after Mania. Like, she goes back into that training camp and they continue working on her, and then once it's Monday night after Mania, that's April, then we've worked on her enough, let's give her to the world sort of thing. I don't think that would be a bad idea. One last thing I'll say, if she is to come into the Royal Rumble, how would you guys do it? Just bang straight up surprise number whatever she appears, or would you give her somewhat of the, if you remember back to earlier this year when Cody was returning and then vignette, last vignette, I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble, would you give her something like that, or just she appears in the Royal Rumble?
I've got an idea, but I'll let Dazzle go first.
Okay. I would say let her just come in an appearance. I think the best setup would be to have, and I don't know who it would be. There is a few choices. Have someone kind of dump out a few of the women, and they're the last person left in, and they're kind of doing the whole, who's left. I'm beating everyone. I've thrown everyone out.
Nia Jax
comes out. That would be a very good one, actually. And then Jade comes out. They have their thing. No one gets eliminated straight away or anything like that. More women then start coming in. Eventually, Jade gets put out by someone. But I think that would probably be the best and the safest way to do it for me.
For me, it's definitely a surprise entry at number 25. Let her come in at number 25. Let her start. I mean, in a ring full of women. A ring full of women, and let her come in and start cleaning house. Let her start cleaning house, get down to about the final 6, and I almost said final 4, but I think final 6, so it could take 5 women to get her out. you know, so that you see her there toward the end. You establish her as a powerhouse, as somebody that everybody's got to watch out for. And in those final 5, it's Becky, it's Charlotte, it's Bianca, it's all of your top women, you know, who have to get her, who have to work together to get her out. I think that's how, and so you leave a strong impression. I don't think she should get to top 2. No, put her top 6 in there so that we know she's a major player, you know. And here's another unpopular opinion. Get ready for this. I think she spends a little more time in NXT than everybody wants. And here's why. NXT just signed that new deal with the CW on broadcast TV.
That is true.
You need stars. You need a reason to tune into the CW. And she is that. Raw already has reasons. SmackDown already has reasons. There's the likelihood that by the time we get there, Carmelo Hayes is already on Raw or SmackDown. You know, Ilya Dragunov might be gone by then. So, you know, if you've got a Trick Williams running things on one end and maybe still Lyra Valkyria, you need a Jade Cargill that people go, oh, she was with The Undertaker at the Big 12 game. Oh, you need that in NXT. So I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. But yeah, when you start talking about we need a reason to tune into network TV and we just signed this 5-year deal, Jade Cargill.
Very, very true. And I think that would be perfect. Yeah, that just all lines up. Speaking of
Royal Rumble debut, maybe they do one of these kind of pre-produced in kayfabe like interviews of like, I don't know, like a TMZ, and she announces there, I'm going to be in the Rumble, to kind of build somewhere like it fits with her brand of, you know, even if it's maybe not TMZ, like an ESPN or something like that they've done before. And it's like announced and it's like, yeah, she's kind of, you kind of have something to look forward to. You're waiting for the Rumble, right? Jade is going to be in this sort of thing. Surprising could work the same way. I just think it's more probably dependent on what they're going to do with her straight after. If they want to build her up like they did with Cody and then she does the Rumble, then she's straight onto TV, whatever TV after, then I would imagine you build her up a bit. But if it's literally going to be work a one and done, then maybe just surprising her is fine, and then she goes away afterwards.
Interesting. I think it would work either way, whether it's surprise or it's built. But then, given what Gerard said about it with his idea, I think that still works as well. So if you couple the two, I think that would be a very interesting one to do. Everyone's waiting for her to come in. So then even with a ring full of women, you've seen this woman on vignettes who's saying she's the best or she's going to take everyone out and she does this and she does that. And then with a ring full of women, as she approaches the ring, everyone's like, all right, come on then, show us what you can do. And then she starts eliminating this person, that person. That would actually work very well.
Think about that whole experience. This will be the first stadium show for her ever.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Think about what they're going to make her look like with 60 or 70,000 people in Tampa St. Pete. Like it's going to, the visual alone is going to be worth the price of admission. I'm telling you, it's going to be crazy.
No, most definitely. Speaking of brands, I'm going to throw this one in here as well. So we found out this last week that Cedric Alexander has now been appointed to the SmackDown brand. The reason why I want to bring this up and ask a quick question as well is I'm very intrigued. I think I mentioned this last week, if not 2 or 3 weeks ago, with Cedric when Cedric faced Dragon Lee. We've seen Dragon Lee versus Axiom. Dragon Lee is now on SmackDown more often. Are we getting a cruiserweight division on SmackDown? I'm hoping that's what this is, because as well, here's the other thing. We've got this 8-man tournament for the United States Championship number 1 contendership. And there's one surprise person from NXT. I'm guaranteeing that's Axiom. I can't think of anyone else it could or should be, because the bigger stars in NXT are all kind of doing their thing. They're all kind of, they're all involved in storylines and whatnot. So I don't see Carmelo Hayes doing it. Possibly Braun Breaker. Because he's not really fixed into anything at the moment. He's had his thing, with Von Wagner, and had a match with I think it was Baron Corbin or whoever. So possibly him. But Axiom's showed up on SmackDown already before. I believe it's him. So with Axiom, Cedric, Dragon Lee, you've got the boys from LWO who are now not with Santos anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just seeing cruiserweights. I'm just seeing cruiserweights on SmackDown.
I think that a segment. I don't think they're going to bring back the cruiserweight title.
Probably not, and I don't have to.
Yeah, but I don't mind them having like a showcase segment. It's almost what Rampage has become for AEW. It's like the Luchador show sort of thing. It's always like a Luchador showcase every Rampage at this point, which is really, really fun. So I think maybe they might be doing something akin to that. At least give them a match every week. The guys of this particular size. Just on that US tournament, they could enter someone like a Cedric in it. It might be a long shot, but I think I saw Kevin Owens is injured off the back of the last SmackDown. So as well as the NXT position, like you said, they're probably going to be another position in the tournament that opens up because Kevin Owens is an injury now. So
yeah,
interesting.
Cedric.
Interesting.
Very true. Very true. Very true. I'm here for a cruiserweight division. I'd love to see the cruiserweight title back. I just don't want to see 205 Live back. So I think if there's a way that they could incorporate this cruiserweight division and cruiserweight title, perhaps let it run across all three brands, I think we got something special there.
That would actually be very interesting. That then brings up the possibility of a Nathan Fraser being
Nathan Fraser, JD McDonough. I mean, like, you got a lot of real possibilities, I think, there.
Yeah, some strong possibilities. And even outside of cruiserweights, I think the only other person I can think of, apart from Bron Breakker, would possibly be Dijak. I think he would be a decent addition. He'd be a decent addition to it as well. So that should be interesting. Speaking of SmackDown, we saw Bobby Lashley taking on Butch this past Friday on SmackDown. Bobby Lashley has been very much of a heel within the last few months, but the crowd don't seem to realize that that's what he is, because while he was facing Butch, very much a face competitor on SmackDown, the crowd were chanting Bobby, Bobby, Bobby throughout that whole entire match. And we've seen, and we've commented on the show a few times, that the people love Bobby Lashley. And it's not a question of why, because we know why, but in terms of where they're positioning him, how they're trying to use him, what is going on. Gerard, you're the man with a bit more knowledge than the two of us. Work this one out for me, please.
You know, this is one of those cases where I think WWE is going to be challenged with whether or not they listen to the fans on this one, because they have done their best to say, okay, we're going to put Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits together, and we're going to make people hate him. And they made them attack the most lovable person in WWE, Rey Mysterio. You attack Rey Mysterio, okay, we're going to hate you, right? Wrong. I mean, it's one of those cases where everything you try to make us hate them for, we still love them. We still love him. Bobby Lashley is still smiling when he comes out. He's still pumping his fists in the air, right? He's still doing all the things. And I mean, save changing the music and the red sippy cups coming out of the sky for the Street Profits. It's pretty much the same thing. We just love these guys. So I think the challenge now is, okay, what do we do with that? We can't make the people hate them. We've tried. So do we lean into them just having a rougher edge now and people still loving them? That to me is what makes sense. I still think they need a name. You know, I don't know why B-Fab is hanging around. I'm not sure what that is. Is she no longer hanging with Ashanti?
Was she there on Friday? Did she appear?
I
don't think she did.
I don't think she was there Friday, but she was there the week before backstage.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what's happening here? What's happening? So
with that said, very quickly, do you think then could B-Fab? Here's a question. Actually, I didn't think of this. Could B-Fab be pulling strings in order for Ashanti to be in the group? So the both of them then are in the group. Would that be a good idea?
I mean, I don't know how invested people are in B-Fab and Ashanti the Adonis. Like we're trying to be invested into Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, and they're not even giving us, you know, the basic provision in a name to make sure we can even just refer to them as something. So I don't know. I really don't know why they're over convoluting a story, in my opinion, with B-Fab at all right now. I don't mind what you're saying playing out and being a story, but right now we haven't even established what these guys are together and what they are going forward. And I would almost play devil's advocate. You know, we raised a lot of good points that the crowd do just love these three guys, but to play devil's advocate, how hard are these guys trying to turn heel?
That is a good question. That's a very good
I've literally seen in the last month, the Miz turn to a babyface like that instantly, like on the click of a promo, like he's turned. Drew McIntyre, we've saw a slow burn, really well told character development, and last night I guess he put the exclamation point on the heel turn. It's happened now. Yeah, anyone that was in doubt. How hard are the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley trying? Because even when you get segments where Street Profits win or lose a match, and then they just go for the kill afterwards, and people start booing, they go to the entrance and they're hanging around, Bobby Lashley's music hits, the crowd goes wild, Bobby Lashley starts pumping his hands.
Right.
Are you trying to get us on side or not?
Right.
Like, I don't really know who, you know, yes, the fans are gonna like, as they say, they're gonna cheer who they want to cheer and boo who they want to cheer, whatever. It's Bizarro land. But at the end of the day, that man has to make us want to hate him. And right now, I can't necessarily name anything dastardly enough that they've done. Like, okay, we mentioned Rey Mysterio, but we saw once upon a time Seth Rollins take out Rey Mysterio's eye. So how much do you want this, bro? Like, do you want us to boo you? Like, I'm not too sure whether it's him. Does he have the minerals to really do something that comes across nasty, and then the crowd are like, no, Bobby, that's too much. I just don't know. I don't want to kind of completely blame creative just for the term. And maybe it's a case that we just make them tough baby faces that everyone loves and can get behind. Maybe that's the common ground. But I would argue that these guys haven't done enough to be hated and to be dastardly heels.
That's interesting as well, because, you know, we mentioned Rey Mysterio. Obviously, we've just had Santos Escobar, who's just turned on Rey Mysterio. Within the next week, a couple of days after Crown Jewel, he's being booed by everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After being slapped by Zelina, attacking his former friends, taking out Carlito, taking out Rey Mysterio. Now he's being booed by everybody. So, that happened within a week. And these guys have been kind of to and fro in for what, 2 months now? And here's the other thing with the point that you made as well, Max. You know, in them, are they trying? And could it be them, or is it booking? I think it's a bit of combination of both, because we get this whole thing of 1 week the Street Profits attack someone. The following week, they lose a match and Bobby's upset with them and walks out. We get that the next week, and again the next week. Like, we keep getting this thing where we don't even know whether they want to be together.
Yeah. So
how are we supposed to make up our mind? You know what I mean? I think it's a case of both. The bookings is very here, there, and everywhere. And I think the Profits themselves are just too used to being the likable characters. And it's very difficult for them, which makes sense. It's very difficult for them to be the complete opposite in order for us to feel as though they are actually heels and want to be hated. So it's a crazy one.
Do you remember when the Usos, I think it might have been 2017, I think, when the Usos turned heel, stopped the face paint and everything like that? They changed their music. They were walking out of the entranceway when it was their time to wrestle at Undertaker pace. Like, if you go back and watch the early days of that turn, no dancing around, no anything. They were walking out looking like, you know, just like, God knows, like it was. That was how they killed the momentum of the crowd loving you. All that energy, they sucked it out of the room. Right. And Montez Ford is always going to be who he is, and we know the star and everything he's going to be. But even with where he's being a bit gnarly to the crowd and he's, you know, screwing up his face and everything, he has these moments. He's like he can't control in his body. He has to do that thing that we love and just show that character. And it's like, this isn't going to help if you're supposed to turn to a bad guy.
Right.
We enjoy this. Like the crowd like this, these kind of outbursts and stuff out of you and stuff. So yeah, I just really think if they're supposed to be these bad guys, it's gonna take more than random beatdowns after matches and stuff like that. They're really gonna have to dig deep. This is a real task for all of these men.
Of course.
You know, we thank God they're loved and they're over. Like that could be another issue we're here discussing. But so it's now, how do you get to the point of almost like Roman Reigns sort of thing? Like, like no, this guy is despicable. Like, I think honestly, if they fell into line quicker in regards to this, the name would have been here by now. They would have been basement of where they are and what they're doing would have happened already. And it's just a bit airy fairy right now because maybe everyone, including the booking team, is doubting, can we actually do what we wanted to do here? Because these guys are so loved.
It's crazy you mentioned Montez Ford and how he is, and obviously during Bobby Lashley's match with Butch, you know, he's there commenting on everything and doing the Montez Ford thing, and it feels very it feels very Prince Nana. You know what I mean? It feels very much like that, to where yes, you're the manager of a heel, you're on the side of a heel, but you're giving us comic relief every single moment that you can. And that's not a bad thing, but I just don't think it's just not working for what maybe that they were trying to achieve in the first place. If that's what we're doing, go with it, go full tilt with it. You know what I mean? But again, it's just this whole thing of just not knowing, nothing's established, nothing seems correct. Nothing, you know, as Mex has said before, it's like a book where the pages are just in the wrong places. Like nothing kind of follows anything. It's just here, there, and everywhere. We just really need.
I hate to say this, and they probably don't want to do this because they haven't really been seen as like an on-screen couple. But I think there could be something in like if he, I don't want to use the word disrespect, but if he disrespected Bianca somewhat, like. Because she's so likable. If it's a case of like she told him like, why are you following this guy, like Bobby Lashley, and he was just like stop, like don't talk to me. He knows what's best for my career. Like just something.
Yeah.
Where it's like, whoa, like you've crossed the line there, sort of thing. That could help to just get them onto the heel side, to get them over. Because right now, the stuff that they think is gonna work is not really
just not working. And I think in turn as well, I think that would help. With the Crawfords being Bianca Belair, Montez Ford, with their documentary that's coming out soon as well. If there's some kind of interaction, with some kind of interaction between them as well, during the show, it doesn't have to be a full-on story. You don't have to see Bianca slap him and then the fight or whatever else. None of that. But what you said, that small interaction, that one little moment of go away. Like, I know what's best for me. I've got this. Leave me alone. Yeah. I think that would make a massive difference to a lot of things. But yeah, this whole thing is just so up in the air. It just needs something as soon as possible, man. It's
direction.
Serious direction. I think we've got a few moments just for the last thing. Gerard, I'm gonna come to you for this one. This isn't actually new news, but this is kind of something that I didn't even know about actually. But about 2 weeks ago, Kenny King was granted his release from Impact. Give us a little bit more on this story. What's happening? Why are we where we're at?
Well, it's interesting. If you'd been watching the Impact product over the last few months or so, there was a moment where he had won the Digital Media Championship. Then he lost that title. I think that was to Tommy Dreamer in like title versus career kind of thing. And I think Kenny King has been kind of just unhappy in his space. I mean, he asked for his release from Impact, which then gets interesting. Kenny King had done some great things, of course, in Impact. He's done some things in Ring of Honor over time. In this current space of pro wrestling, you kind of wonder, where does that leave him? I'm not, I don't know how the Impact contracts are running because a lot of them are different. So I don't know with him asking for his release, does he end up having a non-compete that he's dealing with? Did they put those in those contracts? And then the question is, who would be interested in Kenny King? Would that be an AEW play? Would it be a WWE play? Or would he want to try his fortunes either on the independents or in New Japan? I don't know. But I do think it's interesting. He obviously can put in that work. He can do some great things. He's got a lot of great personality. He's a great talker. I think he could fit in either of those spaces. Obviously, I think what a WWE could do with a Kenny King could be very interesting. He could fit in AEW, I would imagine. I'm not sure exactly where. So I think this gets interesting, but Kenny King no longer an Impact is a pretty big deal.
At the tender age of 36, I'm 2 years older than him, so I don't know why I'm saying tender age. Would he fit in anywhere else apart from Impact? No, that's the thing. It's not based on his talent. What he can do in the ring is phenomenal. As you said, he's a great talker. He has so much experience. I think we first saw him in a wrestling space on Tough Enough many years ago. So he's been within that WWE space before. If he were to be poached by WWE in any way, I personally can only really see him thriving in like a trainer or producer type of role, because we've seen the likes of a Petey Williams, Sanjay Dutt, those guys who were phenomenal in Impact, made their name in Impact, but go to the WWE and don't do anything. Chris Sabin was another one. He's only returned back to Impact and returned to the ring. When he was with WWE, it was trainer, backstage, producer, whatever it is. We've seen the same thing with Nick Aldis as well, who personally I feel should really be in the ring. He's doing a great job as general manager. He's making it work, but why not put him in the ring? So I'm not too sure. And if in AEW, he'd just be missed. He probably wouldn't see him, to be honest. They wouldn't know what to do with him. So I'm not too sure what now happens with Kenny King. The other option he has, he's been on reality TV before, been on a few things before. He's got acting experience as well. Maybe that is something that he pursues from now, as opposed to wrestling. So I'm not completely sure as the reason why he asked for his release, and I really don't know where he goes from here, to be honest. It's a tough one.
I think more now than ever, it's a great time to be able to bet on yourself. There's so many places to go. There's so much eyes on all of these other places, because a lot of them now have some type of streaming service or have the ability to put their shows on YouTube at the very least. So yeah, for me, like Kenny King is someone that he was very busy, obviously, in like the latter days of Ring of Honor, the original iteration, not what we have today. And that's when I really start watching him, and obviously his involvement around STP and everything like that. It is difficult to see where he would go right now. I guess you don't want to be ageist, but age profile isn't necessarily on his side for an NXT move or anything like that. For me, it would be just hedging his bets, doing the indies, going around where he can get the bookings and stuff like that. And then just really seeing where he can land. I don't think Ring of Honor will be of any benefit to him as of this current iteration of it. But there's talent there, there's ability there. Some of these companies will need someone with his experience to come in and be a cornerstone of their show and know that they can get regular bookings out of him, someone reliable. And you never know. It's like this indie thing. I can't ever look at it now as just the lower leagues or whatever. Zack Ryder obviously was Zack Ryder, but Matt Cardona started again. For the fact like this guy went to AEW, kind of didn't get a position there, and went out again, and he's bigger than names and more booked and busy than names in the likes of AEW right now.
Right.
it is what you make it. Like, and I just hope he kind of, if that's the route he wants to take anyway, like you said, he might have other ventures he wants to do, but if that's the route he wants to take, then put your head down and work and get these bookings because they're out there. It's just a case of, like I say, what you're prepared to do for them.
Yeah. It's interesting to see what he's going to do next. With that said, this is the end of our show. We've come to our time. You are watching WrstlXtra on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the channel to see when this guy Mex puts out all these reactions to WWE, AEW, and everything in between. You can also find Mex on the Wrestling's YouTube channel next to all the Mandem. Don't forget to like and subscribe to that as well. Find Mex himself at WrestleManiac.uk on Instagram, WrestleManiac UK on X. Find this guy, the omnipresent Gerard Bonner. Oh my gosh, we didn't even speak about it. You know what? Let me give you 2 minutes to speak about it. ROH Wrestling. Give us 2 minutes. A quick rundown.
That's Friday.
Man, ROH was amazing. ROH Wrestling made its debut this past Friday night in Charlotte, North Carolina at the historic Grady Cole Center. The night was curated, of course, by Darius Lockhart, the Revolutionary, who just, what a night. What a night. I mean, speaking of night, Kevin Knight was in the very first match against frontman Josh C, and they had an incredible match. Lute performed, Grammy nominee, had an amazing performance. The entire vibe of the night was just incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. If there's ever been a show where Black excellence has been on display, it was this show. Nice. You know, from the Team Georgia to Team North Carolina match, which, I mean, the intros alone was just phenomenal. You know, you had Chris Lee and the legendary D'Lo Brown on commentary. I was part of the broadcast team doing some interviews and had a really important in-person in-ring interview that happened involving Darius Lockhart, where we talked about his future and all kinds of really wild things developed from that. So it was just an amazing night that was main evented by Trish Adora versus Aja Kong. Like, oh my God, just crazy. Oh my God. And then, of course, you had Darius Carter against Jonathan Gresham, like a technical masterpiece. Do you hear me? Masterpiece. Kiera Hogan, Charity King. I mean, it was an incredible card, top to bottom. The infantry, TME, like, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So do yourself a favor. If you missed the live stream, you can head to ashewrestling.com. You can check out the live stream replay there. Nice. It is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And I think it's safe to say there's going to be another show in February. There will be an official announcement coming. But ROH Wrestling is a thing. Big Swole was the host for the night. Faye Jackson was there. Billy Dixon was there. Like, it was a thing. And then there were just other people who were there that weren't on camera, which is crazy. Tasha Steeles was in the house. The artist formerly known as No Way Jose just came through. Like, it was incredible, guys. It was incredible. A lot of great Black media there as well. So yeah, by all means, go check it out. It was amazing. ashewrestling.com. I am so honored to be a part of this incredible movement.
Amazing. You can also find quick highlights and a rundown from Gerard himself on his Instagram as well. And you can find Gerard on everything Bonafide. Find him on the Faction Show. Find him in ROH Wrestling in February. Find him in All Caribbean Wrestling, Southern Honor Wrestling, IWE. I know I missed something out. Oh, WWT
Nightmare Factory.
The Nightmare Factory.
Yeah, we just got a new thing that we just dropped as well. So, which, by the way, you guys should check it out, because on the new Student Showcase, the main event is the first time ever that we've had two women in the main event of the Student Showcase. Nice. And it's Angelica Risk, who you've seen on AEW and Ring of Honor, against a new young lady who you guys need to watch out for. You probably need to interview her. Her name is Isis Reed. She is only 16 years old.
And in the main event.
And in the main event. Okay. She is a star, an absolute star. Trust me when I tell you, she's special, very special. Y'all know I don't blow smoke. She is no joke. So check her out. She is in the main event of Student Showcase 11 on the Nightmare Factory's Student Showcase, which you can find on their YouTube page. And after you see it, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Heard it here first, guys, on WrstlXtra. Guys, thank you for joining us. Those that did live, those that will watch it later. We'll see you again next week.
See you later, guys.